Well, our next guest spent more than 3 decades in the military, including more than 10 years doing intelligence work, eventually becoming the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is the sister to the CIA. General Michael Flynn is tonight asking why the Obama administration was so quick to move on from Orlando, the worst attack on U.S. soil since 9/11, less than 3 weeks after it happened. General Michael Flynn joins me now. He's also the author of the new book, The Field of Fight: How We Can Win the Global War Against Radical Islam and Its Allies. General, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Why do you think that is? No one's talking about Orlando anymore.
Yeah, I tell you, so after the terrorist attack, this most recent terrorist attack in Turkey, you know, I'm paying very close attention to this entire problem that we're facing, and all of a sudden, Orlando just drops off the screen. We barely, if anybody's even talking about San Bernardino. I feel bad. I'll bet you those people that lost loved ones, no one's even talking to them anymore. So, I mean, we have a problem, as Congressman King just pointed out, we have a problem right here in our homeland. Turkey is another example of this radical ideology that we are facing, and we must discredit this ideology. We can build all sorts of fences and security systems that we want, but until we really go after the ideology, which is this radical Islamist ideology, Megan, until we decide to do that, all the tactics in the world, all the little things that we do around airports, that just actually increases the cost, and that is to the advantage of our enemy.
It doesn't feel like it doesn't. I mean, you take off your shoes in the air, but it doesn't feel like it's doing anything other than this banal comfort check.
No, and actually every time that they do one of these things, what it does is it increases the cost for our own security. And we just can't afford to do this anymore. We must decide that, you know, internationally, we have not really stated what our real strategy is as America.
But wait, but let me ask you about that, because the Obama administration has made progress in in Iraq.
No.
We've taken back cities. They no longer control Fallujah. Yeah. They're on their heels now. Mosul's basically what they have.
So here's how people have to look at this. We have a very, very tactical strategy, meaning it's very narrow, it's very sort of short term. And we do these little attacks in Iraq, in Fallujah, in Raqqa, you know, in Ramadi, and all these little places. ISIS, they actually counterattack in San Bernardino, in Orlando, in Turkey, and actually in many other places. I think in the last month, Megan, there's been over 1,000 people killed and thousands wounded in just the last month.
But how do we stop that? Because you've heard President Obama. I mean, the administration sounds almost defeatist when it comes to homegrown terror. Like, it's really hard. It's a needle in a haystack, and it's actually a piece of hay that will ultimately become a needle, and detecting that is nearly impossible.
Right. Secretary Kerry, and I think he did an unbelievable discredit to all of us in the United States, all Americans, when he said, hey, you know, we can't really stop these things. These are going to continue to happen.
They're desperate. He said ISIS is desperate.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Are you kidding me? So we have to put up with this nonsense? No, we do not have to put up with this nonsense. The first thing that we have to do is we have to destroy what I would call the jihadis, or the soldiers of this effort, and we have to capture and kill their leadership. That can be done, and that's done sort of locally in the Middle East and other parts of the Arab world, the Muslim, the radicalized Islamic world. The second thing, and actually I still believe it's the most important, is we must discredit this ideology, and we also have to then put out a warning to all of the nations around the world that are supporting these guys, and give them fair warning. You either support them, or we're going to come in and get them from you. I mean, this is a very dramatic effort that we are going to have to put up with, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is not going to be cheap and it's not going to come without violence. It is. But when we continue to see the level of fear that's being increased, the level of cost that's being increased by these guys, I mean, the international community cannot stand for this type of behavior on an international stage like we have seen again and again and again. And here we have the President of the United States up in Canada talking about climate change. I mean, God, we just had the largest attack, as you just said, on our own soil in Orlando. Why aren't we talking about that? Who is talking about that? You know, I mean, Fort Hood, Chattanooga, Boston. People forget about 9/11. And this is not about guns. They use planes. They use suicide bombs in Turkey. They've used, you know, cylinders in Boston. So we have a responsibility, and we have to rebuild the trust between the American public and our federal government, and our federal government has got to get its act together.
The normalization
to go after these guys.
The normalization of this sort of homegrown domestic terror, if you will, is downright disturbing. General, I got to run. Great to see you, as always.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.